Old guys like me tend to ask younger people the same question. Not do you prefer the Marvel universe or DC? Not what's your favourite team, fast food, dating app? Not what's your university, Netflix or Stan? Not even what's your religion, Apple or Android? Now, the question we oldies regularly put is, what would you like to be when you grow up? It's a tamer version of the big question on all your minds tonight. What will I do with my life? Some view education just as a means to an end, the provision of educational services and their consumption to the benefit of the manufacturer and the customer, or as a step toward a career and a higher income, or as preparation for being a more effective cog in the wheels of economy and society. Some of that helps explain why you've put yourselves through all you have these last few years, pandemic lockdowns and all, and why others would support you in doing so. Yet your UNDA years have hopefully been about more than this. For knowledge is a human good, good in itself, good for us, good for humanity, whether or not it can be readily turned to a profit. Sure, we want to be useful, but we want to be more than that. Who we want to be when we grow up is surely tied to the kind of beings we are. Rational, free, loving, with the potential to be heroes, to be saints. The 2nd century Greek bishop of Lyon, France, Irenaeus, was a great leader, teacher, martyr and saint. Long regarded as one of the Church's greatest thinkers, Pope Francis recently conferred a doctorate on him, declaring him the 37th Doctor of the Church. The most quoted of Irenaeus' sayings is, "The glory of God is the human being fully alive." Fullness of life in the end. What Christian life is all about. "I came," said Jesus, "that you might have life, life to the full." One way to think of fullness of life is in terms of striving. To be fully alive is to strive to cultivate every dimension of our humanity, so we become more true and good and beautiful. To be our best selves, we must nourish our intellects. Knowledge, as I said, is good in itself. It feeds the mind and soul. It is good for us whether or not it has immediate application that's valued by employers, politicians, or the media. But of course, knowledge also has its uses. What you've learned at Notre Dame will bear fruit in some of you midwifing babies into this world. Others may educate the young of tomorrow as teachers. Some of you may put justice into the legal world. Others contemplate truth in the life of a philosopher, theologian, priest, even doctor of the church. Some may even hold up the winged caduceus or rod of Asclepius or brazen serpent of Moses, as in our first reading, the symbol of medicine, sharing the gift of healing as doctors, nurses, or physios. However these fruits may manifest themselves, what is clear is that they are for sharing with others. No one lights a lamp just to hide it under a bucket, said Jesus. For the academic achievements we celebrate tonight and tomorrow, of which you are all so justly proud, are not yours only. The thinking upon which you drew is the accumulated research and thought of many others down through the centuries. Others established your excellent university and its many facilities, or provided your Commonwealth-supported place or student loan, or actually taught you or supported you through your degree. However much came from within you, much also came from outsiders. Even when you felt most alone, typing your assignments on your computer late at night, or during Zoom lessons when you were the only one in your flat, or during exams when everything seemed to depend on you. Even then, there was an entire academic community around you, and behind it, a society, a church, and a tradition that values such things and enabled your education to happen. Some of you may be wondering how you got through it all. Doubtless, you worked hard. Doubtless, others helped in all sorts of ways, such as some I've mentioned. But thankfully, you had another community of support backing you and the university. A great communion of saints, which our university calls upon as heavenly tutors for its students. There's been St. Albert the Great, patron saint of science, who's remembered above all because he had such a clever student in Thomas Aquinas. Albert was helping you discover your own genius. St. Thomas himself, most brilliant of all doctors of the Church, was praying for your mind to understand and your memory to be retentive. St. Francis de Sales, patron saint of writers, was there to get you through your writer's block and help you find the right phrase. St. Expeditus, patron of procrastinators, was beside you when you had 1,000 excuses to neglect your studies. St. Ursula, Mary MacKillop, Ignatius, and so many others who devoted themselves and their orders to the education of the young were concerned to see you got the best education. St. Joseph Cupertino, who was a rather mediocre student himself, was there calming your nerves and telling you that you'd be fine and that there are things that matter more than academic assessment anyway. All those times the Zoom link wouldn't work or the computer had frozen and you feared you'd lost all your work. There was St Isidore of Seville, patron of technology, doing his best to intervene. And when it all seemed too much, there were St Jude and St Philomena, patron saints of lost causes, picking you up, dusting off the dust, and getting you ready to start again. There were lots of others, for so many have gone before us who care deeply about you. And because the Church is an extended family, it cares about your welfare in this life and your eternal happiness in the next. And if all these tutors weren't enough, watching over you through it all was Our Lady, Notre Dame, the seat of wisdom and Mother of God, who with the greatest tenderness was imploring wisdom for you from her divine Son. What all these saints wanted for you is what this university wants for you. What Irenaeus explained God wants for you. The human being fully alive. There was a second half, in fact, to what Irenaeus said, and that's too often ignored. The glory of God is the human being fully alive, he said, and the glory of the human person is the vision of God. Dear graduands, graduation is a time to celebrate your hard work and achievements, a time to be grateful to those who helped to get you there, and a time to consider how best to apply all you've learnt in the future. It's a time also to ask where God fits into your plans, or better, where you fit into God's plans. By God's grace, you were given a mind and heart, imagination and memory, a body and a stretch of life, talents to do good, and freedom to choose it. Some here tonight are believers, some non-believers, and many still searching. But we all care deeply for our world and each other. We want to do our bit to make our communities more just, compassionate, and peaceful. We want to be beacons of hope, idealism, and care. We want to demonstrate that love that Jesus demonstrated when, like Moses and Asclepius' serpent, he was raised up on the tree of salvation. Success for us will not be measured just in salaries achieved or wealth accumulated, or gadgets or experiences. No, as we grow up, we seek a happiness that comes from commitment to some higher things and a willingness to give ourselves to them. We seek, dare I say, to be human beings fully alive and enjoying the vision of God.